You will hear a conversation between two university students who have just met. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Excuse me, are you waiting to speak to someone at the reception desk too?
Yes, I am. It's my first day here and I'm a bit lost, to be honest.
Me too. I arrived last weekend. My name's Alex, by the way.
Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Emma. So, why are you going to the student center today?
I'm here to register for classes. What about you?
Oh, I need to collect my ID card. They emailed me yesterday saying it's ready.
I got mine yesterday. After this, I need to find the financial aid office. Do you know where it is?
No, sorry. I'm still learning my way around.
No problem. I asked someone earlier and they told me it's on the 2nd floor. I need to sort out my loan application.
Thanks for letting me know. I'll probably need to go there next week.
What are you doing after you get your ID?
I'm planning to go to the library later to check out some books. How about you?
I need to go to the bookstore to get some textbooks. Do you want to meet up later? Maybe we could go to the bookstore together.
That sounds good. Let's meet at the library at around 3 p.m.
Actually, I was thinking we could have lunch at the cafe first. They have great food there, and we can discuss our courses.
That's an even better idea. I'm getting thirsty already. Is there somewhere to get drinks nearby?
Yes, there's a coffee shop just around the corner. What would you like? I'm heading there now.
Could you get me a mineral water, please? It's too early for coffee.
Sure, no problem. I'll be back in a minute. Here's your mineral water, Emma.
Thank you so much. How much do I owe you?
It was $25 for everything. I got some snacks too.
Here's $10 for my share.
No, that's too much. $5 is fine.
If you're sure. Thanks again.
Now look at questions 6 to 10.
So, I've been helping other new students with registration. Can I get your details for the student group I'm creating?
Sure, what do you need to know?
Your full name.
Emma Wilson.
And which town are you from?
Brighton.
Oh nice. And what course are you taking?
Psychology. First year.
I got you a sandwich as well. Hope that's okay.
That's very kind of you. What type is it?
It's a chicken and avocado sandwich. They're famous for them here.
Perfect. I love avocado.
By the way, did you complete all your registration requirements?
I think so. What exactly needs to be done?
The main thing is to submit your documents, like your passport, previous qualifications, that sort of thing.
Yes, I've done that already. They're quite thorough with the checking process, aren't they?
Definitely. It's a bit overwhelming at first, but I think we'll settle in quickly.
Section 2. You will hear a park ranger giving a talk about Cedar Lake National Park to a group of visitors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to Cedar Lake National Park. My name is David Morris, and I'm one of the senior park rangers here. I'd like to give you some information about the park and the various activities and facilities available to make your visit more enjoyable. Let me start with one of our most popular attractions, the Cedar Lake Boat Tour. For those interested in exploring the lake, our boat tours typically begin operations in May and run through to late September. The tours follow the same schedule every day, with departures at 9 a.m., 11:30 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4:30 p.m., weather permitting. And just to clarify a common misconception, while many visitors use the boat tour, it is not the primary transportation for nearby residents. Most locals actually use the regional bus service. Moving on to our mountain tour, I should mention several important points. The complete tour requires at least 5 hours, so please plan accordingly. It can be connected with a bus route for those who wish to return by a different path or don't want to make the full circular journey. However, I must emphasize that it's not recommended for people with mobility issues as there are several steep and rough sections of the trail. Regarding transportation in the region, I'd like to provide some information about train services. Trains operate continuously between Oakridge and Westport, with departures approximately every 30 minutes during peak hours. An interesting feature of this railway is that part of the line is elevated, offering spectacular views of the valley. If you're planning to use the train service, reservations can be made online or by phone, though they're not strictly necessary except during holiday periods. For those planning to explore the area extensively, I highly recommend our Explorer Bus Pass. This special ticket allows for up to 7 trips per day on any of our regional buses, making it very flexible for visitors. The pass has been reduced in cost recently as part of our initiative to encourage more environmentally friendly transportation, so it's now just $15 per day instead of the previous $22.
Now look at questions 15 to 20.
Now, let me tell you about some of our guided activities. Our guided nature walk is one of the most educational experiences we offer. It takes place twice daily during summer months, at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. The walk includes complimentary binoculars for bird watching, which is a highlight for many visitors as we have over 120 species of birds in the park. I should mention that this activity requires booking at least 1 day in advance as spaces are limited to ensure a quality experience. What do I recommend for visitors? Well, bringing sunscreen even on cloudy days is absolutely essential. The UV index can be surprisingly high in this region even when it doesn't seem sunny. I'd also suggest using the shuttle service between attractions to save energy and time. However, for those staying more than 1 day, purchasing the all-access pass provides the best value, as it covers entry to all attractions and includes transport. I should also mention the Historic Village Museum located near the east entrance of the park. This wonderful facility offers free entry on the first Sunday of each month, which is a great opportunity if your visit coincides with these dates. The museum has recently added a new exhibition about local crafts, showcasing traditional skills such as weaving, pottery, and woodworking that were essential to the original settlers. For international visitors, we provide guided tours in multiple languages, including Spanish, French, German, Japanese, and Mandarin. At the visitor center, we have several facilities to enhance your experience. There's free Wi-Fi throughout the building, so you can stay connected or share your photos immediately. We also have a cafe serving locally sourced food, with many ingredients coming from farms within a 30-mile radius. Additionally, there's a theater showing films about the region's history, wildlife, and geological features every hour on the hour. For those interested in exploring independently, our bicycle rental service offers a range of options. We provide maps showing recommended cycling routes of varying difficulties and distances. For more adventurous visitors, we offer electric bikes for an additional charge of $10 per day. Please note that we require a security deposit for each bicycle, which is fully refundable when you return the bike in good condition. Finally, I'd like to highlight a special event happening this weekend. There will be a classical music concert in the Botanical Gardens on Saturday evening, starting at 7:30 p.m. The local symphony orchestra will be performing pieces inspired by nature, and the setting among the illuminated gardens should be quite magical. Tickets are still available at the visitor center. We also have a guided stargazing evening at the observatory on Friday night, and the annual Food and Craft Festival in the town square on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Are there any questions before I continue with information about the hiking trails?
You will hear a conversation between a professor and 2 postgraduate students discussing a research project on educational technology. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's seminar on educational technology research. I'm Professor Wilson, and I'll be guiding you through our department's current research priorities and some significant findings from our recent studies. I'd like to begin by clarifying the main focus of our research project this semester. While many of you may have read my previous work on online learning platforms, or perhaps Dr. Harrison's research on social media's influence on education, our current project is specifically examining the future of digital classroom technology. We're particularly interested in how emerging digital tools will transform traditional classroom settings over the next decade, rather than simply digitizing existing educational methods. In terms of specific technologies, my research strongly indicates that virtual reality will have the greatest impact on learning environments moving forward. Unlike tablets, which essentially digitize traditional content, or interactive whiteboards, which replicate conventional teaching methods in a more engaging way, VR creates entirely new possibilities for experiential learning. Imagine studying ancient Rome by walking through a historically accurate simulation, or learning chemistry by manipulating molecular structures with your hands in three-dimensional space. The pedagogical implications are profound. Now, regarding the practical aspects of implementing digital learning, I've been conducting extensive experiments with online lecture formats over the past 18 months. The data has yielded some fascinating insights about optimal viewing durations. Contrary to what many institutions have adopted as standard, 30-minute segments actually show diminishing returns in terms of information retention. Our research conclusively demonstrates that 15 to 20 minutes is the optimal duration for maintaining engagement in online lectures. Students' attention begins to wane significantly after that point. It's worth noting that some educators advocate for ultra-short 7-minute micro-lectures. While these can be useful for introducing single concepts, my research indicates they don't allow sufficient time to develop complex ideas or make meaningful connections between related concepts, which is essential for deeper learning. For those of you planning to use the university facilities for your own research in this area, I should mention that the computing center is being completely overhauled this semester with new equipment and infrastructure. This renovation will limit access to certain digital resources until December. The science laboratories were renovated last year, and the research archives are scheduled for next year, so those areas remain fully accessible. Regarding course feedback, I want to emphasize the importance of proper channels for communication. For this particular research initiative, all student concerns or feedback should be submitted directly to the department office. Initially, I considered routing them through the academic committee or even the student council, but after analyzing previous feedback mechanisms, I determined that would create unnecessary bureaucracy. The department office will compile and anonymize the feedback before passing it to our research team, ensuring both efficiency and data integrity. In terms of digital distribution, our approach has also been refined based on previous research outcomes. The digital resources team will send study materials directly to participants' inboxes. We considered having them send project files to students or having students submit assignments through the system, but direct delivery of study materials proved most effective in improving engagement rates by approximately 27% in my previous studies.
Now look at questions 27 to 30.
I often use a particular analogy in my academic writing that some of you may have encountered. I compare interactive learning to jazz improvisation. Unlike traditional lecture formats, which resemble classical music with its predetermined structure and limited audience participation, interactive digital learning involves constant adaptation and response between educator and learner, much like musicians riffing off each other's contributions. The unpredictability creates cognitive engagement that significantly enhances information retention and application. For those interested in exploring these concepts further, I highly recommend attending Drive Thompson's presentation next Friday. His talk, titled Neural Pathways in Digital Learning, will examine how different educational technologies affect cognitive processing and memory formation. It's quite complementary to our research and will be held in the East Campus Auditorium rather than the main lecture hall as originally planned. As a final note regarding administrative matters, please remember that the final project for this research module must be submitted by November 15th. This deadline is firm, as our department needs to compile and analyze all data before the end of the semester presentations. Now, let's move on to discuss the practical applications of these research findings in various educational contexts.
Section 4. You will hear a lecture on cognitive development research in children. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon. In today's lecture, I'll be discussing our longitudinal research on cognitive development in children, with particular emphasis on memory formation and retention patterns across different developmental stages. The cognitive development research I'm discussing today began at Cambridge University in 2011 and has yielded fascinating insights about infant memory capabilities. Our initial hypothesis was that memory formation begins later than previously assumed, but our data conclusively demonstrates that infants can retain new information from 6 weeks of age, significantly earlier than the 3-month threshold suggested in earlier studies. What's particularly intriguing about our findings is the progression of object recognition abilities. Young children can recognize objects in the environment between 1 and 3 months later than they can form memories of direct experiences. This temporal gap appears to be consistent across diverse cultural and socio-economic backgrounds, suggesting a fundamental neurological development sequence rather than an environmentally determined one. Let me direct your attention to the table displaying memory development stages across different age groups. As you can see, at 3 months of age, infants demonstrate a maximum memory retention of approximately 4 days. By 6 months, this extends dramatically to 2 weeks, representing a 200% increase in retention duration. At 18 months, children can retain memories for several days, sometimes extending to what we classify as episodic memory, though without the self-referential quality that characterizes true autobiographical memory. By age 3 years, most children exhibit memory retention of approximately 1 month, though with considerable individual variation. It's worth noting that these figures represent average capabilities across our research cohort. Individual differences become increasingly pronounced as children age, with some 3-year-olds demonstrating memory retention approaching that of adults for particularly salient events. According to Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, whose pioneering work in neuroplasticity informed our methodological approach, memory capacity increases significantly during the early school years. Dr. Nakamura's research demonstrated that the neurological structures supporting working memory undergo substantial reorganization between ages 5 and 7, coinciding with formal educational exposure. Our research was conducted as part of a longitudinal study on childhood development, specifically examining cognitive functioning across developmental stages. This approach allowed us to track the same children over time, providing insights into individual developmental trajectories rather than merely capturing cross-sectional data points. The right-hand table presents our findings on memory test results across different age groups. As you can observe, adults demonstrate approximately 80% recall when tested the following day after exposure to new information. After 4 months, this retention decreases to 45%, still a substantial proportion of the original material. 10-year-old children show 75% next-day recall, declining to less than 65% after 4 months. The 7-year-olds in our study maintained just under 75% next-day recall but exhibited a more pronounced deterioration over time, with only 32% retention after 4 months. Perhaps most intriguing are the results for 5-year-olds, who demonstrated 62% recall when tested the following day after exposure to new information. This figure drops to less than 40% after 4 months, highlighting the still developing consolidation mechanisms at this age. These findings have profound implications for educational practice. The substantial memory capabilities of even very young children suggest that early educational interventions can be more sophisticated than previously assumed. However, the significant drop-off in retention over time, particularly in preschool and early primary school children, indicates the crucial importance of spaced repetition and reinforcement in early educational contexts. Our research challenges several long-standing assumptions about cognitive development. First, the conventional Piagetian model suggesting that children under 2 years cannot form stable mental representations is clearly contradicted by our findings on early memory retention. Second, the notion that memory development proceeds in discrete stages appears overly simplistic. Our data indicates a more continuous developmental trajectory with periods of accelerated development rather than distinct phase transitions. The methodological innovations employed in our research include neuroimaging techniques specifically adapted for use with infants and young children. Rather than relying exclusively on behavioral measures, which are inherently limited when working with pre-verbal subjects, we utilized modified EEG protocols to detect recognition responses at the neurological level. This approach allowed us to identify memory formation in subjects as young as 6 weeks, subjects who obviously cannot verbally report or behaviorally demonstrate recognition in conventional ways. In conclusion, our understanding of early cognitive development continues to evolve as research methodologies become increasingly sophisticated. The implications extend beyond theoretical interest to practical applications in educational contexts, pediatric neurology, and early intervention programs for developmental disorders. In our next lecture, we will examine how these memory capabilities interact with language acquisition processes, particularly focusing on the critical period hypothesis and its relevance to bilingual development.